Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Feeling threatened at the ego level. It's not a real threat because the ego, in effect, isn't a real thing.
No, it's not. It isn't. But we make it so.
Yes.
Hence the Matrix.
Yeah.
We make the ego. We make the prison walls. We make our own story, and then we stick to it, not realizing that it is infinitely flexible and can be changed like that.
We live inside of a, well, I used the metaphor earlier, the prison of our own thoughts. And those thoughts are often fear and dependency and a sense of inadequacy and a desire to lash out, maybe a desire to control, to manipulate, to hurt others for our own self-aggrandizement.
Right. And what does that all go back to? The original message that I and you picked up when you first came into the world. I am physical, I am separate. And then unconsciously, if we don't teach this in schools, we don't teach kids how to think. Nobody talks about who are you? That's never asked. And so this is the conversation. It has to come out in the mainstream. We have to be asking these things so that we are no longer boundaried. We're no longer threatened. We're knowledgeable. We know, oh, wow, I understand. I have an unconscious program running 24/7 that I am separate, therefore I'm alone and I'm scared and I'm vulnerable at a very unconscious level. I don't want to be like that. So I become a jerk because I'm so frightened, and I've just got to create this castle wall around me to support my ultimate illusionary story.
Well, Alan Watts, the philosopher, wrote a book once called The Book on the Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are. It's as if there are many social pressures that society runs better if we're all good worker bees.
I suppose ignorance is not bliss. At a certain level of development and human evolution, we can no longer afford ignorance. It has its own comfort level, but it's fascinating to me that we're entering a time of such activism in people's minds that we have to now get out and if we're going to make a change, we can't depend on our representative government. And I think this is a really healthy place to be, is that it's no longer about being represented by another person. It's time to stand up and represent ourselves. But stand up and represent ourselves from a knowledgeable viewpoint, not just more, thunder and roaring and chest pounding and finger pointing, no longer coming from that fear-based isolation as an ego, but as a knowledgeable human being, knowing who we are, knowing the structure of the mind, where it comes from, how it develops, and how it can be expanded into a very wonderful, safe zone of inclusivity, where you're no longer a threat to me. You're my brother. You're my sister. You're my brother. I can depend on you. You are me.
What a beautiful note to end our discussion, Cate Montana. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. What a pleasure being here.
And thank you for being with us.